Traders, how are you? With Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week, the economy, stocks, some conspiracy theories. Warren Buffett's selling some stock. We have another big hurricane that's coming, and also some news on, what's the best way to phrase this so they don't cancel my channel again? A drug that was used during the pandemic to avoid, to avoid the things in your arm, was just canceled because they killed so many people. Let's go ahead and get started. Not a bunch of news when it comes to economic data overall in the U.S. Overall, stocks in the U.S. were all positive. The only exception, actually, the Communist Republic of Canada also was positive. Biggest news of the week was basically the situation with Hurricane Helene, especially in the western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee area. You guys will see some of the videos, but they just gave $100 billions overseas for another war, and they only offered $750 to the people in the ravaged areas from the hurricane. There's also been some rumors that, the government isn't going in there to be able to help people, but I'll let you guys see all the conspiracy theories online. And some of the conspiracy news, let me see if I can find my little button here. Hold on one second. It should be this one. Da, 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 da. A persecuted FBI specialist urges Americans to stock up on food and prepare for hardship. He also says, arm yourself. Many of the dictators in a lot of countries, actually, the first thing they do is always take away the guns from the people. For example, Chavez in Venezuela, in Cuba, Castro, the Nazis did the same thing. So, and U.S. lawmakers are planning a possible mass casualty event, proposing a constitutional amendment to replace members quickly and be able to fill the various lines of secession in a national crisis. I don't know if you guys remember, it was probably about 3 or 4 months ago where I talked about how the congressmen were getting emergency satellite phones. It's like they're doing things for something that's going to happen, but they haven't told us directly yet, right? Like the hurricanes, for example. This is completely ballpark, but I lived in Florida my entire life. We always had to live with hurricanes. I've never seen hurricanes take these turns that are doing now. It's like, what's going on? I don't know. Just do your research. And in overseas market news, the European markets are mostly lower. The Paris market, the SOC, was the biggest loser there. Istanbul went down over 7% if you consider that part of Europe. Latin American markets were mostly mixed. The Bovespa, which is the largest market in all of Latin America, went down by 0.71%. Africa and the Middle East, mostly mixed. Saudi Arabia was one of the positive ones there. And then in the far East, Asia, Australia, mixed markets overall. The Hong Kong Hang Seng was up over 10%. And the Shanghai market out of China as well is over 8%. Not a lot of news in the Bitcoin and crypto space. Overall for the week, crypto was lower, 5.68%. It's at 62,124. I took that number on Saturday morning. Remember, because of the volatility, it might be a little bit different when you guys see the video. In commodities and energy, global food prices are starting to come up again, unfortunately. I'm going to give you guys the Five Guys stories again. During the pandemic in 2020, we went to go get a hamburger at Five Guys. It was $20 for 2 people, 2 burgers, 2 fries, 2 drinks. I went back to the same Five Guys in 2023, not even 24, 23, and it was $20 just for me. Drink, fries, burger. I went back recently to a lower cost area, another state where the costs aren't as high, and it was $25 just for me. So now, unfortunately, over the last month, we've seen prices go up by the most in the last 18 months. If you like coffee, I have bad news for you as well. The Arabica bean, which is mostly from places like Brazil and Colombia, hit its highs of 2011 as in the coffee inflation is starting to soar as well. U.S. oil prices had their 3rd monthly loss in a row. This is due to the fact that they have rising supplies out of OPEC Plus and the situation with the economy in China, how if they're not doing well, they're not going to be able to import as much oil because remember, China is still the largest importer of oil in the world. It did fall over 7% for the month of September. Brent has fallen, the international, about 9%. But for the week, because of the situation in the Middle East and the war there, they skyrocketed. U.S. oil was up almost 9% to 74.28, while Brent was up over 8% to 78.05. Now, the Middle East, we have a bit of a escalating situation there. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to start World War III so we don't have elections. Like the J.D. Vance meme. Yeah, we had the debate, the vice presidential debate with the Vice President Walz and J.D. Vance, which is Trump's pick. What was I going to mention with this conspiracy theories? Oh, yeah. So there were rockets launched at Israel. Israel decided to do a partial land invasion in Lebanon. Then Hezbollah and also the Iran-backed I said that backwards. Hezbollah and also Iran sent missiles into Israel, and now Israel's saying that they're going to, do a really strong attack. So things don't seem to be dying down there in Israel. In addition to that, in Ukraine, Russia took another one of the cities that they were holding out for 2 years. So on the war front, doesn't seem like it's going to get any better anytime soon. Gold surged 6% in September, adding multiple record highs so far this year. The best quarter it's had in 8 years because, everything is fine. And year-to-date, silver prices are up over 34%, comparing gold's 29% increase for the year. For the week, went down just a bit. Gold is down 0.17% to $2,654.30. While silver was up 1.70% to $32.26. In some of the financial and banking news, some of the preliminary data showed that the inflation in Germany has fallen to its lowest level in February 2021. Inflation also eased in other major economies like France, Spain, and Italy, so they're expecting the European Union Central Bank, the ECB, to lower rates in October. And in news that I always tell you guys to not pay attention to what people say, but what they do, Berkshire Hathaway has sold another chunk of Bank of America shares. His remaining stake is 10.2%. He dumped 8.5 million shares, totaling $338 million. He sold more than $9 billion worth of the stock. So why, for example, is Warren Buffett selling the stock of a major bank in the United States? Maybe he sees a crash coming. Economic news, the industrial production in Japan dropped 4.9% year over year. Remember, Japan is still the fourth largest economy in the world. They produce quite a bit, things like for cars and electronics. Their retail sales did go up 2.8%. Japan also reported that its unemployment rate eased to 2.5%. And in the U.S., we had great news on the jobs front, which is quote-unquote good news for the economy. More U.S. jobs were added compared to what the expectation was on private payrolls. There were 143,000 jobs added in the month. And the U.S. as a whole added 254,000 jobs in September. Unemployment went down by 4.1%. A little thing that they won't tell you there is that a lot of those jobs were actually government jobs. So, be careful what you do, because now we have a big government bureaucracy that's going to monitor everything you do. The manufacturing activity in the Eurozone declined at its fastest pace in September. The German manufacturing sector contracted for the first time, at the fastest rate so far this year. Remember, Germany is a manufacturing powerhouse. All of the things they make, they're renowned as being the best engineers in the world. And in political news, Marine Le Pen, widely seen as the front runner of the 2027 election in France, she's the leader of the far-right party, is being investigated and is in criminal court, supposedly from bumbling some of her election funds and using it for things that she shouldn't have. Convenient how they always get the people on the right, not on the left, huh? Claudia Sheinbaum, 62. She's the first female president in Mexico. She embraced the historic feat, but also there's a lot of opposition in regards to what the last president started, AMLO. He wants to get rid of all the judges and have them re-elected, obviously by vote. So that, try to shove that through so that a lot of people are against that. Corporate news, Chipotle, instead of paying everybody their fair wage in the new minimum wage law in California, started replacing its workers with robots to bypass the new rising minimum wage laws. Apple's not doing well either. The new iPhone 16 demand is falling short of expectations, dropped 13% compared to the iPhone 15. And Gilead Sciences issued a recall to the antiviral drug remdesivir, showed a 53% mortality rate in clinical trials in Africa. Remember, that was the same one that they were recommending instead of the other ones for the thing in your arm during the pandemic. PayPal and Tesla led the NASDAQ 100 to another winning shares. Tesla, however, this week on Wednesday went down over 3%, almost 3.50%, due to the fact that they didn't meet their delivery numbers. They expected to deliver just a touch over 433,000 cars. They actually delivered just a touch less than 463,000. They're facing increased competition, especially in China, from the old school companies like BYD and Geely. And there's some new up-and-comers like Li Auto and NIO. Their stock is still up 13% in the past month, 1.07% in the last 3 months, and 0.22% so far this year. Stellantis, the big car automaker conglomerate, they went down over 12% after they changed their full-year profit warning. They're headquartered in the Netherlands, but they're pointing to a disappointing, deteriorating global industry backdrop in addition to competition from China. Europe also put in some new tariffs for the cars coming in from China to be able to save that local economy. In technology, NVIDIA went up 3% after the CEO, Jensen Huang, said that they're seeing insane demand for their new AI chip called Blackwell. They're going to start shipping those in the fourth quarter. And in investment news, there is a convenient end to the port strike until January 15th. They accepted a 60+% wage increase just to get them through the election, obviously, right? So they don't have any problems winning the election. They're seeking higher wages and a ban on use of some automated equipment. And on Thursday, in interesting facts, CEO Mark Zuckerberg overtook Jeff Bezos to be the second richest man in the world. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, the preppers were right.